Hey everyone! Using many of the same concepts as Subnautica, but with a vastly different environment, The Planet Crafter is an early access game that promotes exploration and resource collection with a familiar game loop that also keeps you tethered to a save point where you'll need to return if you want to breathe. The setting of this game, a red Mars-like planet, quite quickly gets converted to start looking relatively Earth-like in no time thanks to your actions. Sticking down solar panels, mining rigs to release gases, and promoting growth, everything adds to the atmosphere until the whole planet gets converted. It's pretty empowering. This game is still quite young, I'd imagine, and many parts feel like a proof of concept come to life. But I'm pretty excited to see where they go with it. Right now, you can convert the world into a blue sky, you can get clouds, eventually rain, and lakes will fill up around you. You rig up machines to spread grass, algae, flowers, and eventually trees can grow. Hopefully you avoid my mistake of building in what will eventually become the bottom of a lake, but I guess that's the risk you run when terraforming a world. And just like Subnautica, you have a very simple system to understand, and it starts to become a little bit more elaborate. Common materials like iron, titanium, and silicon become the building blocks of your base of operations that you can actually build to absurdly unnecessary proportions. Bases can be stacked up, or you can make multiple structures all over the place. Everything's automatically connected together. Any power you place down powers the whole world. And all of your structures have that nice quality of life bonus of just working. In the same way though, quality of life here also prevents you from facing a real challenge if you choose to play carefully, as it takes a couple of common resources to build an oxygen-filled room. This takes a matter of seconds and there isn't any real downside. After a few upgrades though, traveling in the game feels a lot less like Subnautica. When you're maxed out on jetpack speed and oxygen tank size, you hardly need those safe zones as often. In the mid to late game, you're starting to count on automated ore harvesting to get you further down the crafting tiers, and strangely enough, the game starts to feel like it has some similarities to Satisfactory, with the exception of any danger of combat. By discovering places where rarer stuff spawns, you can make a mental note and place a mining rig there, and essentially just come back to grab materials every so often. Just like your food and water issues, what starts off very manual to deal with eventually becomes a little bit more automated as you progress. Originally, you're having to melt down ice blocks just to get a sip of water, and before you realize it, you'll have far more water than you even know what to do with. Late game options, like firing off massive rockets to attract meteor storms, signal what seems to be the beginning of the end for the current additions and features. Though it does look like developers have announced waterfalls and insects should be released pretty soon. I can see how animals appearing into the game world might somehow create more of a challenge if they decide to go that way. Given that you start this journey alone and on a desolate world, the challenge level only gets easier and easier until you begin to run out of things to worry about. It looks like some people out there have spent a lot more time and effort than I'm willing to create some truly incredible bases, and I'm going to share them here to give you guys an idea of what's more possible than my terrible little hovel. The number of resources that have gone into some of these had to have been massive, but I will say that I was a big fan of the deconstruction mechanic. It allows you to move things around at will, retrieve back all your materials, and convert things as needed. While inventory management is currently the most challenging aspect of this game, I would have to guess that something needs to be added to the game eventually to give it more of a balance, where somehow your experience is made more difficult due to your terraforming. Otherwise, like I said, eventually it just gets easier until you run out of tasks to give yourself. Even after playing through what's on offer here though, I can't imagine what that challenge might be, unless the drills wake up some aliens or something. If any form of combat is added, it would immediately become a very different experience. Right now, it's pretty chill, and there's a few stories to uncover that are buried in the messages within some of those wreckages you find. When you find a wreck, they're meant to be dark and cramped, a little bit easy to get turned around, but they have some of the best resource drops and blueprints in the game. Finding blueprints like this is incredibly important, despite the fact that you're also unlocking new recipes through terraforming at any given time. These blueprint items will need to be brought to a terminal, and they can unlock some of the more powerful personal upgrades that allow you to explore faster. Most upgrades achieved through terraforming allow new structures, on the other hand, usually increasing your capacity to terraform better. It's too early to outright recommend this game for purchase, but it's a promising demonstration of something that might turn out to be pretty awesome. I had some fun with this, but I felt like I ran out of things to do as I approached the limit of what early access had to offer. Make your own judgment on whether or not you want to wishlist it. I can understand if this style of game might not be up your alley as it sits right now. Just keep in mind, it could still change pretty drastically as well. And in case you're curious, even after you have plants growing, rain falling, and huge pools of water everywhere, you're never really freed from the breathing constraints. And you do still have to be mindful of food and drink. When you start the game, you have a standard or relaxed option. And if I'm being transparent and comparing the two, I'd say the relaxed mode is a far easier way of getting yourself ahead faster. Having to worry slightly less about the survival aspects lets you really focus on building and exploring, if that's what you're aiming for. There's also a hardcore and intense option, if you're a crazy person. I'm curious how many of you out there would have loved Subnautica if it wasn't, like dark and terrifying. Maybe in that case, this game might be something worth looking into. I don't know, it's kind of similar-ish. It's far less creepy, for sure. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comments, and as always, I appreciate your time with me here today, especially if you made it to the end. Also, if you're interested in checking out the Discord, follow the links in the description below. I'll see you around. Thanks for watching.